from Starry. I'm the CMO here. The company is about 18 months old. We're a venture capital backed company out of Boston, about 10 minutes from here. The founding team, a bunch of us are actually here tonight. We're from Aereo. Maybe you guys know that company. A few of you do, which is great. Starry is very, very different mission, very different company, and totally separate from that. And what we set out to do is bring fastest broadband to billions of people. And so that means everything from infrastructure all the way to in-home Wi-Fi. The idea is to integrate the entire stack from the internet service all the way to in-home Wi-Fi. And tonight I'm going to talk to you guys about the Wi-Fi piece, the Starry Station, which is actually a product that we've developed and manufactured and is being retailed on Amazon and Best Buy currently since May. So I'd like to demo that for you. So routers are a lovely product category that has been doing relatively the same thing for a few decades, and we thought it might be interesting to take a new cut at it and to think about what are some ways to make it more intuitive, what are some ways to make it more intelligent, what are some ways to make it easier to use. It's obviously at the center of your digital life in the home, and yet it felt like it was built for an enterprise in 1985. And so we went about that mission and came up with Starry Station, which you can't actually see. So you'll have to come up after and check it out. But let me start a demo. And a lot of the things that we did centered around the idea of putting a touch screen on a Wi-Fi router. And so the idea is an 802.11 AC 1900 megabit per second router with a touch screen that's driven by an Android platform. So let me start the demo. This is our ambient mode. This is the mode that if you're away from the router, it would be in this mode. The 97% here that you see is actually the health score. So we're monitoring 3 categories of data dynamically, automatically in the background. First, the WAN, which is everything upstream from the router. So the WAN speed ping speed test was built in Ookla into the router so that we could monitor the health of the performance of the internet coming into the home. We look at LAN, which is everything in terms of Wi-Fi conditions. And then we look at the signal strength between the router and the end user device. So if you're too far away from it and you can't achieve the right performance, we can tell that. So it's an algorithm and it's taking into account. Obviously the health is very good here, so good job to the hosts. All the orbs around are devices. So these are devices from my colleagues that have actually gone onto the network. We auto-detect the type of device it is. These looks like some laptops, mobile device, a couple phones. If the health of the device is good, if the connectivity is good, it's blue. If it's not, it turns red. We also surface any issues that you might have, so I'll try one for you here. So for example, if one of your dogs decided to chew the Ethernet cord out of the back of it, it would actually surface the issue. In this case, it actually knows that we have intelligent Ethernet ports, so it knows that the Ethernet port plug has been taken out. There's about 12 issues that we're monitoring, so it could be an outage from your internet service, it would surface that, it could be a DNS error, all kinds of things. And so one of the things that we think is critical is to actually let users know when the Wi-Fi and the internet is good and when it's not, so that if you see a buffering event or if a page is slow to browse on the internet, you actually can go to this and look at it. A lot of the work that was done on designing the UI too was about glanceability. So we want people to not have to walk over to glance from the couch and be able to know what's going on. So it's restored. Once you walk up to it, you click. You can see 3 basic sections. Let's do internet speed. So I talked about this. We do a speed test throughout the day so that we can actually let people know if the speed that they're actually getting from this router matches the speed that they pay for from their ISP. And we obviously are collecting this data and starting to see some interesting gaps in this area, which we might be able to leverage in some forthcoming projects. We are also able to break down the score into the WAM, the Wi-Fi conditions of the devices. If there was any issues with any of these, they would turn red and let the user know. You can dig further and get into the details. So for those that are interested, here's a list of all the devices that are connected to it. We also wanted to take a stab at making some of the basic things easier. So at one tap, you can get the Wi-Fi name and password. So this is a really common problem. We actually talked to some ISPs, even more common customer support problem for them. People getting a new device, an iPad for Christmas, and they can't figure out where the hell the network name and password. Maybe it's on a post-it note under the ISP's gateway, which is where they like to hide it. So we want to make this stuff easier. This applies to guest network and the 5G network, which we created as well.
I'll try to wrap up the demo.
Okay. The last piece I wanted to show is actually from the iOS device. One of the things that we wanted to do is make parental controls easier. Right now you're doing DNS jockeying and maybe there's a browser parental control that you do it by device. We wanted to do this at the network level. So we have an app that we've built. It allows people to, with one tap, set bedtime. You drag the device, click it on, save, and there it is. You can do this with 12 devices. You can do this with 20 devices. You can apply one rule to all these. I have 3 kids. I know what it's like. There's about 15 devices that are at play here. We also added content filtering. This is a feature that's due to come out in a couple of weeks. We're actually beta testing it right now. It allows us to block content of major websites and apps, and so that we can keep kids focused on homework, perhaps, or what they should be doing. We're obviously also doing content safe mode, which is all adult websites and blocking explicit content for devices, which we think is critical. And I'm going to go really fast into this. Once you set a rule, you can actually see a little lock icon on the devices. It should take a second to do it. The last one in this area is pause. So this is a pretty good way to give a kid a timeout, I think, or potentially stop Slack once you're trying to have dinner with a girlfriend or something. So you can actually pause devices right from the start station and go from there. And you should be able to see the paused device now in the ambient screen. So anyway, this product is available on Amazon and Best Buy. We're actually going to be in the top 250 stores at Best Buy in October, starting in October, and then starting to ramp distribution for the product. Good.
Questions,
any
please.
questions anybody has, except for that area?
So I do have a question, but I don't know what's a fair question to ask.
Anything.
Capital back. So in terms of the business, you have product. This is designed for the home use, and is that where you're going? Is sticking with that home use and amping up the ease of use and the speed, I assume, is part of this picture. So you showed everyone that there was a control. Is that your cell phone, parent's cell phone that controls it?
Yeah, no, so actually I should show everybody this. This is the router, and this is the touch screen on the router. So what you were seeing on the camera was the touch screen on the actual router. For some of the heavier management features, we've put the functionality on an iOS or Android app, so you control that with the phone. So anything like parental controls, which requires to actually dig in, read, and set settings. That's on the iOS app. The basic functions of the Wi-Fi router are on the actual device itself.
Is it safe to assume then, which is the larger question that I was asking, is that you can't get at it from outside of the house then? So the parent goes away and decides to change things, because that would open up a security hole. How do you handle that?
So all the functionality of the router, the settings are set in the cloud. So you can remotely manage all of those settings from outside the home. You don't need to be home, and they're totally separate from the network that you've created for your router. So there's no security issues.
And so you're angel funded, VC funded?
So VC funded. We're very, very lucky. A lot of the investors from the area came back. First Smart, KKR, Soros, Tiger Global. So yeah.
I'm sure others have.
Can you talk a little about why you chose to make an app to control this versus the more traditional, the traditional, just a web portal on a router? So you're breaking some new ground here. Were there any particular reasons why you did that?
Okay. So why did we not do the traditional approach of creating a web app for the router and created an app? So a lot of the decisions around that were obviously chip driven, and also sort of the future of the platform. The idea was for us to start with first party applications that we built. So the idea of screen time, our parental controls, is to sort of start getting the network features out there, and then hopefully attract a bunch of third party developers to do that. And Android is a far better platform to do that than some of the traditional router platforms. So that was really the idea, is to start attracting other developers to develop on the router.
So what's the price?
So what's the price? It's $299.
Discount for folks who showed up?
Maybe.
So continue your pricing strategy. So who will be your target customers?
Yeah, so the people we're having success with are people that are obviously dependent on Wi-Fi for both work and home, and that are frustrated with the lack of visibility and usability of current routers. So about half the market in the U.S. Gets their gateway. It's actually rented from the ISP, and those tend to be sort of mass manufactured, low cost gateways. The other half of the market is retail, so Airfreight, Extremely, Netgear, etc. But a lot of the frustration comes from the lack of visibility of what's actually going on with my network, and we're finding that that's for those people very attractive. And so they're willing to sort of pay a premium for that kind of usability and things like parental controls.
So you can help to diagnose what's the problem, but are you going to help with solve the problem as well?
Yeah, so all the issues. So the question was, are we diagnosing problems and fixing them, or just diagnosing them? So all the problems that we surface are issues that can be resolved by the user by following the quick fix tips, or we believe that the knowledge of it is already added value, right? So in the case of an internet outage, we can't fix it, but telling a user that Time Warner Cable is down and has been down for 20 minutes and they should probably call their ISP is a big added value for the user. So.
One last question.
So what about the internet service? When I first heard about Starry, I heard that it was going to leverage wireless technology, and that it was actually running a pilot here in Boston. So can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. So the question was, what about Starry Internet? Is there a wireless service and a pilot in the works? So that's the second part of the business. And we've been in development on this for about 18 months, and in parallel, we've been in R&D on the wireless side for the actual service, the infrastructure and service for that. And so we're in a closed beta right now in Boston, and we're looking over the next couple of months to start opening that up. So we're on track.
Thank you, Starry.
Thank you.